Who will be responsible for paying money to the IRS in your divorce? That's a great question and an important one to know how to answer. My name's board certified divorce lawyer Christopher Bruce, and let me tell you what you need to know about divorce and taxes. The issue of who pays tax debts to the IRS is an important matter. You have to have it addressed in your divorce settlement agreement. If you go to a divorce trial, the judge will have to deal with it. The way it works is usually your divorce settlement's going to spell out who's going to pay off the IRS debt. An important thing you need to know, though, is regardless of what's in the settlement agreement, regardless of what the divorce court judge says, the IRS is going to want their money. So if you have a settlement agreement, as an example, that says your husband's going to pay the IRS for a joint tax debt and your husband doesn't pay, the IRS is going to come for you. The way it works with the IRS is they will look to whoever signed the tax return for responsibility for paying the debt, regardless of any contracts you make. So if you file a joint return after the divorce, or if you file one before the divorce and money is still owed, the IRS is going to look to both the people on the return for payment. So if one person doesn't pay, the IRS is going to go after both of you. So if you have a tax debt, ideally the divorce settlement's going to deal with directly paying that debt from settlement proceeds before anybody gets the money and doesn't make a payment. This is different if there were not joint returns filed. If your husband filed a separate tax return in his name only during the marriage, or if he does so after the marriage, the IRS is going to look to him to pay the tax debt, not you if you weren't on the return. Still, though, if the tax debt accrued during the marriage, it could be considered a marital liability that is part of the assets and debts that get divided in the divorce case. One exception to all of this relates to if you can qualify for innocent spouse relief. If there is a joint tax debt and certain requirements are met that basically require you to show your husband incurred this debt without any of your knowledge, it really has to be a pretty extreme case. But if you qualify for what's called innocent spouse relief, you can get out of having to pay the IRS for a joint tax debt. Pretty tricky to do. Recommend you talk to a tax lawyer if you think this might come up in your divorce. Pro tip here, if you have a tax return deadline coming up and you haven't started the divorce process yet, strongly consider whether you file a joint return with your spouse. If you think your spouse has been up to no good and might be underreporting his income, it might be a situation of where you want to stay away from filing a joint tax return. For a lot of people, though, fortunately, this isn't happening, and for most people, talk to a CPA, but for most people, filing a joint tax return, even during the divorce process, is the best thing to do because it results in an overall tax rate. For almost all situations, you're going to pay less in taxes between you and your husband if you file a joint return than if you were to file as a separate taxpayer status on your tax returns. I have an accounting degree, as do a lot of the better divorce attorneys. For this reason, you have to understand this stuff. If there's a tax issue that might be coming up in your divorce, it's a really good sign that you should be talking to a divorce lawyer before you get too far in the divorce process. Hope this video has answered your questions. If you have more, put them in the comments below. Like and subscribe for more of these helpful videos. Please check out the resources linked in the description below. We have loads of free resources. We have free books that we've made available for you, all kinds of stuff to help you learn, get answers to your divorce questions. And if you're approaching divorce and you're in Florida, I welcome you to consider my law firm, the Bruce Law Firm. Myself and one of my partners can sit down with you, get your divorce questions answered, and give you a strategy for moving forward with confidence.